Welcome to the Last Christian Radio Show with your hosts, Brother J.D. Williams and Brother T.L. Farley. It's now time to grab your Bible as prophecy brings into focus the events playing out on the world stage at incredible speed, right before our very eyes, and exactly as was foretold.
Starting date Wednesday, June 8th, 2022, 01 hours 39 minutes 19 seconds.
Hello.
Montgomery County 911 on a recorded line. You said you have an emergency. What's it?
I am having thoughts.
Are you thinking of hurting anyone, including yourself?
Yes.
Do you have access to any weapons?
Yes, I brought a firearm with me, but it's unloaded and locked in a case.
I need to get your description. What race are you?
I'm white. I have short light brown hair. I'm wearing a gray shirt and black pants. I'm 26.
And you mentioned a suitcase. Are you carrying a suitcase? Do you have any other items you're carrying?
There's a backpack, but the backpack just has like jackets and random stuff in it, no weapons in there.
What's your height and weight?
I am about 6 feet tall and I weigh 170 pounds.
Have you been using alcohol or drugs tonight?
No.
Do you need medical attention?
I need psychiatric help.
Okay.
But no, I'm not injured, if that's what you're asking. Not physically.
All right, so I want to make sure you understand, don't approach officers with any weapons in your hands. Okay? Make sure you can keep your hands visible at all times. Make sure you follow their commands. When they come out and speak with you, they're going to be dispensed as soon as possible.
I'm just standing in front of the house on the sidewalk. I'm on the other side of the street from where I left the suitcase. I can move it further away from myself if that's advisable.
Yeah, move far away from the weapon so the suitcase is in front of this address.
Yes.
You have any other weapons with you?
There are other weapons in the suitcase, but I do not have any in my possession.
What other weapons are in the suitcase?
There's pepper spray, there is a knife, there are various tools.
And you said you came from California. Do you know someone down here?
Brett Kavanaugh.
You said red, like the color?
Brett.
Rex?
The Supreme Court Justice.
Okay. And you came alone?
Correct.
Okay. And what were you coming to do? Just to hurt yourself and him, or what was going to happen?
Correct.
And I'm assuming, did you Google, or how did you find the Rex?
How did I find the address?
Yeah.
Let me think. I'm not sure how I found the street, but there was an article that has a picture of the front of this house on it and has the street number. And then I cross-reference it with, the house said on it, and then I looked at, and it says he lives in Maryland, so I found the address that's in Maryland, and it was here. And I looked at the pictures from the press, from various protests, whatever, and I compared it to the outside of this house, and it matched.
Trying to hurt yourself as well, like in this process?
Yes, I was going to kill myself.
Okay. And why did you want to do that if you were thinking about hurting someone else and yourself? Or
because I didn't think I could get away with it, and also I've been for a long time. I've been hospitalized multiple times. I hear police sirens currently.
Yeah, they're coming lights and sirens, but they're coming to help you. Just keep talking to me, Nicholas. You're doing fine.
Okay.
Okay, so you said you thought about this before?
Correct.
Okay. Just keep breathing. You're doing fine.
Okay.
And why did you want to hurt yourself before?
I've been diagnosed with
Family in California, out there in Simi Valley?
Yes, I live with my parents.
Okay. Do they know what's going on, or?
Nope, they're in vacation in Hawaii.
You have any children or any loved ones?
I do not have any children. Yeah, there's a dog at home.
What's your dog's name?
Molly.
Molly. What kind of dog do you have?
The cockapoo.
Okay. Is that your first dog, or?
No, I had dogs previously.
Okay.
Oh, they're almost here. There's a car just stopped in the middle of the street, but it doesn't. They're here. I'm going to hang up.
Okay, go ahead and speak with them.
Your neighbor, enough, turn away from us.
End date Wednesday, June 8th, 2022, 01 hours 53 minutes 4 seconds.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the last Christian radio show. Yeah, it was a little bit of a different intro there, but I wanted to catch your attention with it. Well, we do have some points to bring up. My name is J.D. Williams. I am the co-host of this program, along with Mr. Terry Farley there in Dallas. And Terry, I think you'll agree that we opened the show a bit differently than we usually do. And let me turn Terry on, and then he'll be able to tell you. Go ahead, Terry.
Well, I said, boy, howdy, and I'll say it again. Boy, howdy.
Yeah, well, now that, of course, was the 911 call. And let me tell everybody, I edited that heavily. The call is just under 15 minutes in length, and what you heard is just over 5 minutes in length. I didn't take anything out of sequence. I tried to keep it in context. You're free to look it up. It's public domain. But let me tell you this right now. I was actually flagged by YouTube a few weeks ago for playing a 30-second clip of Lyndon Johnson from 1963 as a copyright violation for Walter Cronkite, who's been deceased for about 30 years. And they were able to do that because I did not identify myself as a member of the U.S. Press Association. I am an active member, and I am enacting my First Amendment rights, freedom of the press, and my identification number, Mr. YouTube, is 802-085-263. So if you would like to censor me, you are in violation of the United States Constitution. Okay, now with that said, Terry, do you have anything that you would like to add to this? And before you even answer, I'm going to say this. In light of an attempted assassination attempt on a United States Supreme Court justice, in light of an economy that is going downhill like a rocket in or a rock in water, with a pending war overseas, with basically every aspect of American life declining at record rates, what the United States Congress is talking about right now is January the 6th, 2021. They're oblivious to reality, in my opinion. You're up, Terry, go.
Well, the fact that they're oblivious is not really a news headline. That would get the back page of the any newspaper on the planet. Yeah, right. They absolutely are. They absolutely are. But as far as what you just played for us, I want to commend the 911 operator. He's going to get lost in the shuffle, but you know what? Right in that moment, in that point of time, he was absolutely outstanding. He didn't go bananas when he found out it was Brett. There wasn't anything that disturbed him. He stayed cool, calm, collected throughout. My hat, if I had more of them, I'd take them all off to him.
Absolutely.
Well done.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to get away from that. I just want to let people know what the realities are right now in the United States and where everybody seems to be focused. Anything, distraction. They want to keep your eyes off the ball. But now I had promised I was going to play an interview, and I'm going to because he deserves it. This Mr. Norman Smith, he's a missionary in Japan. And as I speak, I think he's beginning to pack up for a 7-month furlough to the United States. But he has a podcast that I'm going to have an interview with Norman on the Last Christian podcast. That'll be on Wednesday night, this coming Wednesday night. And we're going to talk to Norman in depth about his podcast and also a new radio show that he has that's going to premiere on Monday, and that's this Monday. And that is June the 13th. That will be on revelationradio.net at 7 o'clock. I encourage everybody to tune in. Norman's show will be every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 7 p.m., and that'll be on Revelation Radio. And anyway, Terry, you know this. I did a short interview with Norman, and I'm going to play that right now, as promised, right here. I do want to welcome at this time Mr. Norman Smith. He is a missionary in Japan, believe it or not. He's been there for 20 years, I believe he said. And anyway, Norman, I would like to welcome you to the Last Christian Radio Show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, you know, you have a podcast, and that's the main reason why I'm bringing you on here. And it has a unique title, and we talked about it on the Last Christian podcast, and people can listen to that at www.lastchristian.net. But the name of your podcast is Run with Horses. And I know the first time I saw that, and I was like, what in the world is he talking about? So real briefly, if you could, just give us kind of a quick overview of how you came up with that one.
Sure. Run with Horses comes from Jeremiah 12:5. And God is challenging Jeremiah, says, if you have raced with men and they have tired you out, how will you compete with horses? So as I have thought about the Christian life, you know, it seems like we're often exhausted by just the details that everyone goes through in life, just family and work and our marriage relationships, and all these things keep us exhausted so that we don't give good energy into really pursuing Christ-likeness and following Jesus. So I wanted to share what God has taught me about pursuing Him and being a disciple and disciple maker over the years, and encourage other people to pursue God in this broken world that we live with all of their energy.
Yeah, and you have done that for, as I said, 20 years. You have your family there. You shared with me before that you have a home there. And you are coming back to the United States for a short period of time. And I'll let you explain a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, we are coming back, what we call furlough, for 7 months. And we'll visit about 36 churches in 30 weeks. So we have 29 Sundays. If you take out the 30th one would be Christmas. So lots and lots of traveling, Alabama, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Kansas. And the main purpose of that is to report to churches who have been supporting us for the last 20 years. We also have a few weeks with my family, with my wife's family, with our home church. But primarily it is visiting churches who have supported us, encouraging them and sharing what we've been doing for the last 5 years now since our last visit.
So I know that you had told me before that whenever you do this, it's basically stand up and start answering questions from people, and you've got to kind of be prepared for just about everything. And I'm sure you get some haymakers every now and then, but we'll talk about that another time. Now, as far as the podcast goes, you have established a podcast while you've been there in Japan, and it's basically with your family members, with your wife, with your children, and you have run that, as I understand it, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And just tell us a little bit about the podcast, how it goes, and
Sure.
Take it from there.
Sure, yeah. We started the podcast just as a desire to share some of the things that God's taught us over the last, I've been a Christian for 40 years and then a missionary for 20, and we just have learned a lot of lessons, and we've had interns and other younger missionaries that we've been able to teach, and things that we've learned in ministry here as well. So we started this podcast as a way of sharing some of those things, and right now the way that the flow is, Monday is primarily me, and I have several different sections. I share usually a quote from something I've been reading or studying recently that I thought would be worth sharing with other people. Have a short section on something in news and culture. Often there's something that I feel like I just want to address maybe from a biblical perspective, or something that just really is bothering me that I thought would be worth sharing. My daughter is a singer-songwriter. She shares a new song most Mondays. Okay. She shares maybe why she wrote it and things like that. And then the last section is living theology. I'm try to be a biblical follower of Christ. So theology is the foundation on which we all live. But often it's seen as kind of as dry and dusty and this kind of boring pursuit. But really, it's really exciting and it's very practical. It applies to your life. So I want to study and teach theology that makes a difference. It's living, it's alive theology. So that's kind of the Monday episode that we have. Wednesday is when I will be meeting with my wife. Usually we have about 30 minutes together where we're currently writing a book. And it's titled Marriage A to Z, is the working title at least. Okay. So we've been sharing a different letter every week. This past week it was quilting. So quilting, quilting a marriage, and thinking about that idea of the pieces of marriage that we bring. I bring experiences in the history of my family. She brings hers. And then the thread of the Holy Spirit unites us together into one single unified marriage. So we have different times of discussion thinking about things like that. Other weeks it might be something like respect or, all kinds of adoration or love, different words and how that relates to marriage. So we're just thinking about the marriage relationship and how to live a vibrant, alive marriage that glorifies God. Mm-hmm. Eventually, we would like to interview some other couples. We haven't done that yet. Partly we're in Japan, so the couples we would interview here might be speaking in Japanese and might be kind of hard for our English.
Right.
So, Fridays will be Family Fridays, and right now my kids are joining us. I have 2 children, Cameron and Chloe, who would join us. The third one, Melody, said absolutely not. She will not get near. She sees us pull out the microphones and she starts running for the back room. But
that might change.
Chloe's 20, Cameron is 17, and they are both in college now. They were homeschooled and now they've doing great in college. But we'd use this time to talk about just different things maybe that they're learning, or maybe different things in the culture at large that we want to get a broader perspective about. And it's just a time of sharing our family and rejoicing together. And again, that's an episode. We probably will have some interviews in the future, right. But so far it has been primarily our children. And all of it, the whole purpose is to help others as they pursue God in this world that is just difficult. It's difficult to keep your mind focused on the right things. It's difficult to know how to interpret the challenges of the culture around us and the negative things. And how do we keep a positive attitude that's focused on Christ?
Yeah. Well, I know that people, if I listened to a couple of your podcasts, you know that. And one of your most recent, it had to do with homeschool. And that's something that affected, I guess, every family in the United States at one point. I know my wife and I went through it, and we didn't survive it well. But listening to you and your podcast and listening to your children, it was incredible because they spoke about how much they learned, how good the teaching was, how well it prepared them for college. And I would almost guarantee you that 90% of the people here in the United States that had to put up with it for 1 year are probably going to say, no, this is crazy. Nobody could do that. But if you listen to the podcast, and I do encourage everybody, please do tune in to Norman's podcast. It's Run with Horses. And where is that available as far as on podcast platforms?
You should be able to find it on just about every app that has it. It's on Spotify and iTunes and Podcast Addict and all of those places. Okay. So it should be fairly easy to find. Run with Horses podcast, Norman Smith, should be easy to find.
Excellent. And also, I will mention that he's also going to be having a radio program on revelationradio.net, and that's going to be every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Central Time. So I encourage people to tune in for that as well. Norman, incredible experiences over there, I know, as a missionary. I know that you've been through a lot. I do want to encourage people to listen to www.lastchristian.net for the podcast, because Norman gives a great testimony and shares a lot of his experiences there that we can spend a lot more time on than we can here on the radio. But Norman, I do want to thank you for taking the time to come on the Last Christian Radio Show. And by the way, I've got to mention, because he's not here for this, because of the time difference between here and Japan, Terry is not with me right now. But he has one question. He has the same question of everyone. When do you think the rapture is going to happen? Do you think it's going to happen? What are your feelings about the rapture? Because remember, this is called the Last Christian Radio Show. Here you go. This is your shot with Terry right now.
Yeah, well, I think the rapture could happen before we finish this radio show. So I
Amen.
think we're waiting on Jesus to come at any time now. So we're in the same boat. We're going to see Jesus anytime.
Amen. Okay. Just like there's a last play in any football game, there is that last individual to accept Christ before the rapture. Norman, again, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the Last Christian Radio Show. I wish you and your ministry well. Safe travels. I know that you're just about ready to head back to the United States for 7 months, I believe you said. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on, and may God bless you.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Good night. Okay, that was an interview with Norman Smith. Again, the name of his podcast is Run with Horses. And Terry, I almost forgot to ask him that critical question, but I remembered right there at the last second, and got that in, because I know that is a very important aspect. Just give me a couple of your impressions real quick. And as you can see, we're almost out of time. This is a very unique show, but we'll get to that in a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I thought it was excellent. Enjoyed it very much. I'm looking forward to getting to know the guy. He seems to be a real stalwart in the mission work and in the body of Christ, and I appreciate his and his family's ministry very much. Absolutely. Now, we were going to get back into the mid-trib, and Terry, we got a tremendous number of questions that came in from the last show. Unfortunately, because of the way that things have gone today, we're not going to be able to get back into the mid-trib today. But let me tell you guys what's going to come up, and I can promise you that this is going to be addressed in the Tuesday edition of the Last Christian Radio Show. Here's a couple of the questions. Number one, Terry, they were wondering about the day of the Lord. Still a lot of confusion about that, and you said something about how the whole world was going to burn up. So, doesn't that mean that everybody dies, and that the millennial reign will only be with Christians? That's one thing we're going to address. There are also some of the mid-trib people that wrote in said that passages from the Bible about peace and safety would seem to indicate that the mid-trib could not take place until halfway through, because that's the only time that Israel would feel safe. So that kind of validated the mid-trib theory. And then here's the one that really got my attention, got me to thinking. There were people that said, hey, we can now officially disqualify the mid-trib theory. And I'm not even going to tell you right now how they disqualify it, but let me tell you this. They convinced me. These people that wrote in convinced me that there is no way that there can be a mid-trib rapture. They pointed it out. It's incontrovertible. I mean, there's no way. You cannot dispel this theory. You can't, or this fact, I should say. So anyway, we're going to get into all that next week. Really quick, and I really do apologize for the fact that we're having to cut this short. It's just the way things work today. But I do want to remind people that Terry's segment, The Eye of the Storm, we'll bring that back on Tuesday. Terry also has the Eye of the Storm radio show on Revelation.net. That's at 7:30 every Sunday night. And of course, I hope people will tune in for the Last Christian podcast. That's Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. And again,
that will have the interview, the first part of a two-part interview with Norman Smith, the missionary from Japan. And it is an excellent podcast, so I hope you'll join us for that. Again, lastchristian.net, 7:30 on Wednesday. But before we close today, Terry, I'm going to let you make the appeal this week instead of me, okay? So tell people why they need to accept Christ and how to accept Christ, and you got 30 seconds.
Okay, that's great. I don't need 30 seconds because we don't have 30 seconds. It's going to happen faster than any of us can imagine, folks. Don't think. And if you study my book, you're going to be looking back over your shoulder at the rest of the history that's behind you. That's how fast it's going to happen. Jump in now. Grab Jesus while you can. Absolutely. All you got to do is just say that quick prayer of salvation. Let the Lord know that you are a sinner, that you know Jesus died for you, that he rose and he's coming back. And if you'll do that, you will find that peace that surpasses all understanding. Again, a very unique Last Christian Radio Show for this Saturday night. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I didn't shock you too much by the way that we opened it. But we felt it was important, every aspect of it. And again, we're going to get into those mid-trib questions on Tuesday, and you're really going to want to hear that. Until Tuesday, everybody, good night, and God bless you.
Thanks again for joining us today for the Last Christian Radio Show. And be sure to tune in every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7:30 to 8 p.m. Central Time right here on Revelation Radio. And don't forget to join us every Wednesday evening at 7:30 p.m. Central for the Last Christian Podcast, now available on all major podcast platforms and at www.lastchristian.net. Until the trumpet sounds.